Hi, my name is Pat Hughes, and I'm here to share an overview of Gracious Space with you. Gracious Space is an approach to group engagement originated by the Center for Ethical Leadership 10 years ago. At its most essential, Gracious Space is a way to create a safe environment where diverse opinion is welcome and creativity and learning can occur. Gracious Space is being used across the country by public agencies, businesses, hospitals, and schools to have hard conversations without being hard on each other. To get a sense of what Gracious Space is, I'd like to ask you to try something. Imagine a time when you could speak your mind without being afraid of being judged, when you felt safe with another person. What happens when you recall that memory? If you're like me, you'll sigh and say, "That was nice." Then you say, "What was that? And how do I get more of it?" Because that is Gracious Space. It's all about being intentional. It's about going slow to go fast. We often say at the center that we can teach Gracious Space in 5 minutes, but it takes a lifetime to master. Well, we have 5 minutes together, so let's give it a whirl. Gracious Space is a spirit and a setting where we invite the stranger and learn in public. I'm going to unpack each of these 4 elements briefly, starting with the spirit of Gracious Space. By spirit, I mean that you can be Gracious Space just by how you show up. The spirit of Gracious Space is your best stuff. It's what comes with you when you walk into a room. To quote Otto Scharmer of Theory U, the quality of the change is a function of the intention and attention of the change agent. So what that means is how you show up matters. So how do you show up? What is your best stuff? And the key is to remember to intentionally bring these attributes with you into each interaction. The second core element is setting. Setting is simply the physical environment where the conversation or change work takes place. The setting should match the goal, so don't use a lecture hall setup if you want people to be interactive. You might move the chairs around, choose a room with more natural lighting, or put out some toys on the table. One woman I worked with simply moved the pile of papers off the one chair in her office, and now people can sit down when they come in. She called to tell me, "Our conversations are so much better." And remember, there's always chocolate. This brings us to the third element of Gracious Space, invite the stranger. Here we're asking you to actively seek out people with different perspectives. This is how we get smarter as a group. If we all think the same thing, all but one of us can go home. So we need to consider, who is the stranger in this context? Who has something different to offer? Who is the other? And what happens when we invite diverse perspectives? We get diverse perspectives, which can look a lot and feel a lot like conflict. So we need to shift our response to that and not be surprised or frightened, but as Peter Senge says, to see disagreement as an opportunity to learn something new about the system. One consultant colleague in Colorado who used Gracious Space had a city council member tell her, "This is the first meeting where we could discuss complex issues without getting mad at each other." It sounds simple, but when you have gatherings like that, it's powerful. This brings us to the fourth element, learning in public, where it all comes together. When we learn together, it's as if we each bring our piece of the puzzle to the table and fit them together into something more brilliant than we could ever make on our own. And the whole group, organization, or community becomes a place to learn and grow. You have trust and creativity. The capacity of the whole group bumps up a notch or two. So these are the 4 elements of Gracious Space: spirit, setting, invite the stranger, and learn in public. And here's how you can use it. First, you can simply determine which element your group needs more of and emphasize that. We have activities and tools on the center website that you can use for that purpose. You can also take the 4 elements together as a container into which you can put your most difficult conversations and whatever change process you are engaged in. Wherever there are taboo subjects between people or in organizations, things we won't or can't talk about, the relationship becomes smaller. The more you have to hide, the smaller the relationship and the less you can do together. Gracious Space allows you to reverse that, come out from hiding, and run toward the roar. We have a story about running toward the roar that we tell at the center. In Africa, the lion is the most feared hunter. When the lions hunt, the old, feeble lions, who can no longer hunt, go to one side of the savannah and roar. When the other little animals hear that, they of course run the other way, right into the jaws of the healthy lions waiting quietly on the other side. So the African elders will tell their children, if you're out on the savannah and you hear a roar, run toward the roar. Gracious Space is like that savannah. In every group, there are times when the environment is dangerous or unknown or uncertain, and our natural reaction is to run the other way. The truth is that facing the roar and moving toward that which seems scary can be the safest thing to do. Using Gracious Space to its greatest potential is about developing our individual and group capacity to run toward the roar. I hope you can see that Gracious Space provides a framework and tools for working better together. And where can't we all use some of that? I invite you to visit the website at www.ethicalleadership.org to learn more about Gracious Space. Thank you very much.